Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Grab a Seat podcast. I'm Ankit Vengurlekar, tuning in from Bengaluru, and today's podcast episode is a very exciting one. Throughout this series, we've spoken to incredible leaders at Grab to try and understand how they do, what makes the magic happen. And today is all about magic because it's the product episode. We're speaking to Shweta Padmanaban and Tom Waechter. Waechter, how do you pronounce that, Tom?
Waiter.
Waiter. Okay, the CH is silent. Awesome. Tom and Shweta, lovely to have you on the podcast.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Great to be
Awesome.
here.
All right, awesome. Okay, so first up, what did you eat for breakfast, Tom? Let's start with that.
I had a granola bar and a coffee about 45 minutes ago.
That's great. I can see that on your face. The coffee is kicking in.
It really is. I'm starting to get a little wild, so it's good.
What about you, Shweta?
I had a cereal and a protein shake.
You folks are too healthy at Grab. Yeah, this is too much. I need the fitness routine and the glow on the face. Okay, before we jump into all things product, I would love to try and understand what was a young Tom thinking, and how on earth has he gotten here after spending almost 9 years at Grab, doing what you do here at Grab. So press the rewind button, use the time travel machine, and first Tom and then Shweta. I would love to hear what a young, just out of college Tom was thinking, Shweta was thinking, and how did you manage to become what you've become at Grab today?
That's a good question. A young Tom graduated with an economics degree and wanted to get into finance. It was not a good time in the world to be doing that. And I kind of stumbled into a job doing DevOps, right? So server deployment for a ticketing company. So doing a lot of on-site setups, deploying software on the back end, fixing code here and there, but also working with a lot of clients when bugs were there. And so as my career evolved, I realized I didn't want to be the person up at 4 a.m. fixing servers that were down. And I wanted to work closer with clients and consumers, kind of solving the problems upstream. So eventually made my way from Canada over to Singapore and found my way to Grab. When it was a smaller company, and 9 years later, has kind of moved my way through different parts of the organization, solving different products, and now I head up products for our platform team.
Head of product. That is phenomenal. Well done. Kudos, young Tom, for making your way through all the world. Shweta, over to you. Head of product at consumer experience. What was young Shweta thinking?
Yeah. Well, when I was in college, product management wasn't really a thing. But I studied engineering at NUS, so I had moved from India to Singapore to study and to explore life in a new city. So after graduation, I decided, similar to Tom actually, to work in a bank. Um, so I worked in a retail bank for 4 years, and I learned all about how to work in a big company and how processes work and how P&Ls work. But then I was also like trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I really want to do? And at that point, I was talking to a friend on like interesting work that he was doing, and he happened to work in this really cool tech company called Grab. So he was telling me that there's a lot of interesting work happening here, and if I'm bored at my current job, I should try looking out. And so then I just like got in touch with the hiring manager, and was really impressed by the speed at which things operated at Grab. Decided to make the move, and I actually joined also a fairly long time ago, 8 years ago almost, when Grab was a very different place relative to where it is now. Had the opportunity to try out so many different things in product and learned so many different skills along the way. And yeah, I really enjoy what I do right now in consumer experience, working on like apps that are used by millions of people. And so that's my story.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And kudos to you, both of you. 8 years, 9 years, outstanding. Tell me what has fundamentally changed over the last 8 years in product. And of course, that's a huge question. But if you can 140 characterize it in 140 characters, what has fundamentally changed when it comes to product over the last 8-9 years? First Shweta and then Tom.
Um, I think a lot of the principles in product haven't changed. It's about like figuring out what is a meaningful customer problem to solve, and prioritizing the right solution, and making sure that it works well. I think perhaps the the goals are the same, but the ways are much more like codified and kind of it's much more easy actually for a new PM to understand what a product manager does and should be doing to be successful, because there's been like a history of product management that's built up over the past, say, 1 or 2 decades.
Got
So
it.
I think it's yeah, I would just say that like the how has been a lot more defined right now, and how what differentiates a good product manager from a great product manager is also like much better articulated.
That's amazing. The what keeps expanding and ballooning, but the how is a lot more codified.
Yeah.
To summarize what you're saying, Tom,
Yeah.
your perspective?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think depth of thought and time frame for execution has changed a lot. I think, in the early days of the company, it was super exciting because you would ship a product and it would be used and double in size week over week. But that meant, we were very much, structured as like a passenger app, a driver app, a payments team, and that was kind of it. And so, my team didn't exist, which is a horizontal layer which cuts across, right? And so, my team needs to think a bit more long term, plan stuff that are coming years in advance. And we didn't have the luxury, I think, 9 years to be thinking that way. And I think the company has really evolved to be a lot more forward looking about where we're going to be 10 years from now. And so that's one thing that I think I'm really happy to see change.
That's incredible. It's also a beautiful segue into my next question, which is if you can double click. Oh wait, what's the favorite thing that PM say? Double click, double down. What is the latest lingo? Give me that. Come on. What is it? Is it
Yeah,
still
double
double
click
click?
always works. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you could double click on exactly like you said, 9 years ago, your function or this team didn't really exist. So take us through what typically are the responsibilities, the contributions of your team, and how you're building this cohesive, holistic sort of layer between all the different verticals and functions that Grab has from a product point of view. So Tom first, and then Shweta.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my team is platforms. It's made up of a couple different departments, right? So we have our consumer experience, or sorry, our customer support side of things, our communications team, our integrity team, which itself breaks down into things like safety, fraud prevention, identity, content moderation, all those pieces. So we're back end systems that really power the layers above us, and our goal is to, I guess, unify and simplify and make things as easy as possible for the vertical teams above us, but also for the end consumers who sometimes experience with our piece. So, from a fraud prevention side, our goal is to minimize the fraud on the platform, but also minimize user friction associated with us finding that optimal piece, but also making it easy so that, the food team or the transportation team can launch new functionality or features. So we kind of cut across a lot of different user segments, and with the long-term goal of helping the business, solving the consumer product, and making everything just kind of work.
Just making everything kind of work. I love that. That's beautiful.
Exactly.
We're not really sure exactly how, but we make it work for hundreds of millions of people. And I'm kidding,
Exactly.
of course. Shweta?
I lead the consumer experience product team, and we're broadly split across growth, engagement, and loyalty as pillars. So my team manages the app that is used by consumers when they're interacting with the various services on the platform. And what my team does is to manage the vertical agnostic parts of the app. So the growth team looks at user acquisition and user retention. So they work on initiatives to increase the organic downloads for the app, make sign up really simple and onboarding really simple when once a user has logged in. Um, the engagement team looks at how to make the homepage very engaging for our users and for them to figure out which service to interact with, as well as to encourage them to try new services out. And fill out more information about themselves on the app so that we can personalize stuff on the app better. And all, yeah, and then the loyalty team basically looks at initiatives that help bring the ecosystem together and make transacting on Grab just much more rewarding and much better than kind of using our competitors. So we work on a bunch of products that help increase the long-term value of our users and provide ways for users to get more value from the app.
That's amazing. Increasing the LTV. It's all about that, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you for that, Shweta. Thank you. Tom, you mentioned an interesting thing, which also brings me to the next question for you, which is you said one thing which has fundamentally changed over the last almost a decade of being at Grab has earlier it used to be probably slightly more short-term objective or short-term horizon oriented, but now you're thinking, for example, how's the app or the platform going to look like a decade from now, years from now, right? So but that also brings in a very unique conundrum of maybe different teams and features that require very here and now intervention and product solutioning versus, this almost parallel stream of, hey, we need to do this 14, 18, 24 months out. So take us through some of this interesting decision making, resource mobilization, allocation between the short term here and now ones, the urgent and the important ones, versus the more strategic long term plays when it comes to product and feature development. I can't imagine it's easy at all, but take us through how you navigate it.
Yeah, I think that's the constant struggle. I think at our level is finding that right balance between investing in today, paying off tech debt, investing for tomorrow. I think everyone struggles with their roadmap structure, right? And I think there's a lot of frameworks out there that people use, but the reality is I don't think there's a clear answer, and I think every team at every different stage requires different outlooks, right? Again, I'll go back to my trust team. And I think we had an issue, I think, about a year ago with false positives, and the team felt like it was stuck between firefighting fraud that was happening on the platform, but also pressure from false positives of users complaining that we were blocked inappropriately. And so, we had to really make some trade-offs in how we structured the team to really solve that problem. And so from our side, we broke it down into 3 clear problem-based teams, all of which were healthily funded. One focusing on, okay, your job is to fight the fires. You need to stop the fraud that's happening on the platform. We know this is going to be intense, and we staffed it with people who were excited by that. They liked running around and fighting those fires and having a new problem every day, and they got really excited about it, and they did good work. And then we had another team that said, okay, you're going to kind of be the opposite side of this coin, right? We know that team is going to be fighting a lot of fires and blocking a lot of people and doing a lot of stuff. And your job is to make sure that the experience is right, that they're not overdoing it, that people have a way to recover when we make a mistake, because we got to accept the fact that we are going to make mistakes in this fast world. So that was their job, was to make sure that the other team kind of didn't overdo it. But then fraud is constantly evolving with new technology and all that sort of stuff. And if we just focused on those two, we'd always be behind, right? People are always finding new ways to be creative. Syndicates are investing a lot of money, right? And so the third team is basically what we said is, hey, your job is to look for step change, right? The stuff that you're doing, it might take a year, it might take 2 years to cross. So we don't expect results from you today, right? First 2 teams, we expect results from you today. But the next team, you've got some space, you've got some air cover, you can invest more long term. And so really dividing those problems and making it clear to those teams how they can tackle it, and making it clear on expectations of timelines and how to really go about solving those problems allowed them to really all execute on what they needed to fast. And we're seeing a lot of real positive outcomes from that.
That's outstanding. I love this trifecta approach. Beautiful. Shweta, I want to come to you and try and understand, maybe related to this itself, when it comes to consumer experience, you've already spoken about a bit, but if you could just double click and help us understand. What are the other factors that help you make these product decisions? Considering the landscape of consumers is dynamic, technology itself is dynamic, market forces, demand, seasonality. There's just too many variables at play. Take us through the thought process for your team.
Yeah, so all teams at Grab are structured around problem spaces, as Tom also alluded to. So the idea is every team, which is cross functional in nature by definition, uh, has like a specific consumer problem or user problem that they focused on. So that problem typically is broad enough and deep enough such that it can deserve focus, dedicated focus from a team for 12 to 18 months. So some examples of such teams are, for example, my loyalty team. So the loyalty team's mandate is to try to figure out what are ecosystem initiatives that would increase the loyalty of users on the platform beyond what the verticals are already doing. Another team is what sort of initiatives could we drive to uh, make transactions on the homepage or make transactions on the app much more seamless. So these are like evergreen problem statements, and regardless of the changing consumer tech, they kind of remain valid problem statements to solve. So how we approach prioritization and product problem solving here is we try to figure out within this broad space what are like the key problems that our users are talking to us about through various sources. So the team does a lot of immersions on the ground to try to understand the user problems. We also have regular cadences with our vertical counterparts who have a much better handle on the growth challenges within their own verticals, and can also tell us what sort of consumer problems could be perhaps like spanning multiple verticals that could be meaningful for my team to solve. Um, we also run a lot of experiments to validate hypotheses very quickly. So we know that some areas require a lot more investment than others, and similar to what Tom said, we staff up teams that look at very long term problem areas, or we kind of structure the OKRs for a given team such that they make progress on what short term goals as well as long term goals, and we kind of figure out the resourcing between the two. So but like those are all like fairly still high level. I think the good thing and the great thing about Grab product management is that the team is really empowered to figure out which problem is most important to solve and the best way to solve it. The team does weekly or bi-weekly sprint planning, runs a whole bunch of experiments to validate hypotheses, and then depending on what sticks and what we learn, then we go ahead and double down on some investments and then make that a company priority, or decide that this is not really working out and we can quickly pivot. So that's really helped in trying to figure out where to focus.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. If you could just apply this to some of the current or recent successes, when it comes to product launches, if you could share some of that and then, help us sort of superimpose this framework, this theoretical framework, and how it actually came to be and, users ended up being the beneficiary of these amazing efforts. Can you share some examples?
Sure. So one example I can share is relating to our push as Grab to attract travelers on the platform. So the company, did a bunch of external facing research and figured that in Southeast Asia we're going to see a tourist boom as COVID was kind of ramping down. So there was a org-wide push to reignite growth through travelers, and as you can imagine, that's like a work stream that spans multiple product teams across, making it easy to actually log in, making it easy to pay, add a credit card, and then the actual physical experience of looking for a car, figuring out where how to download the app, and then how to use the app at the airport, figuring out where to go to stand to get the car. So it was a multi team effort. One of the findings that we had when we were going, deep into the problems faced by travelers was that they actually started their planning for their trips much before landing in Southeast Asia. So they would typically start figuring out how to spend, for example, 5 days in Singapore when they're still in their home country, and they would do their research online to figure out what's the best way to commute, what's the best way to download to order food, etc. And they would then download the Grab app. And when we started examining what our download and sign up rates looked like for users who were using the app from outside of Southeast Asia, we could see a lot of funnel drop offs. So we actually worked together with Tom's team and many other teams in Grab to optimize that sign up flow such that users who are signing up outside of the Southeast Asia region would still be able to get their OTPs and securely use the app. But not just that, once they downloaded the app, because there were no services available in, say, Dubai when they were downloading the app, they would just see like a blank home screen and they would be pretty lost on how to plan for their trip ahead of time. So the team realized this also through user research. And then we built a way for these users to access the homepage of the country that they're going to visit. So somebody who's opening up and downloading the app in Dubai would be able to now receive OTPs on their Dubai number, sign up for an account, and then navigate, for example, to the Singapore homepage to then see, okay, so here's how the app looks like in Singapore. This is how I'm supposed to use the app when I get to Changi. Oh, and like, oh, can I add a payment method? Oh, what sort of restaurants are available that would match my preference? So a lot of this planning was now kind of done upfront by travelers through the Grab app, and that really helped in then increasing the reliability of the app in the traveler's mind as well. That okay, I know how to use this app, and I know that the app has all the things that I need. So that really helped in terms of cracking this new user segment. And yeah, it was a great experience because the entire problem discovery and the solutioning was done in a very agile way across multiple teams, despite multiple teams being involved, in fact. And we did it in record speed as well, so which is a great outcome.
Typical Grab. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that amazing experience. Tom, I would love to hear from you. Either you want to expand on this one or another product launch example of the amazing approach that you've spoken about. Would love to hear one of the success stories.
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting one because my side of it is slightly different, right? I think when we approach it from an integrity standpoint, a communication standpoint, reaching to travelers outside of our ecosystem is high risk, right? When we see fraudulent accounts on the ecosystem, when we see toll fraud, right, which is people sending a spam SMS to our OTP systems in order to make money in various ways. This is very high risk to us, but also we understand that this is an extremely important user segment for our business. So the balance there of potential fraudulent activity, but the upside is incredibly powerful. So, from our standpoint, 100% we're supportive of the push. We're aligned to the teams, and it goes back to like, okay, so we're aligned on what we need to do, and we're aligned on our own problem space within that space. So then we kind of take the higher level problem space and we refine it to a smaller problem space. And then we have our team really over execute on those aspects so that we can find the balance of where is the right user experience that works for everybody in the ecosystem.
That's amazing. Thank you. I'd love to hear from you, Tom, first, and then Shweta, if there's any brand new recent product development at Grab that excites you.
Yeah, a lot, actually. We're doing some pretty interesting stuff right now. One product that my team has just rolled out sort of the end of the year was our family profiles product. It's a product that my team has been looking at from a lot of different angles for a while now. So we've been doing, user research and viability and understanding desire and value to the users. The product is pretty simple, right? Rather than just being a singular account, the ability to have multiple accounts together, right? So you can share a payment method across. But also, one of my teams is safety, and we were really, really excited about this product from a safety angle, right? We have individual features in the past about, hey, I can share my ride if I want. We're very proud of the safety standards that we have on our ecosystem and the quality of drivers that we have on the ecosystem. But there's always things that we can do to raise people's confidence in the product. And so a key element of this safety features was the ability for the administrator to talk to the driver, even though somebody else is maybe making the order. And if you think about elderly parents who may be able to make an app, but aren't comfortable with chatting to the driver or having those connections, as the admin, you can kind of step up and help facilitate those pieces. You also get notification when a ride has been made. You get a notification when people will be arriving. All of these sort of things to help improve or reduce, I guess, everybody's anxiety in the process. This is a product that took a long time to be ready to go, for the company to feel confident that now's the right time for us to invest in this sort of value added functionality to the users, because it's not going to immediately drive profit. People aren't paying extra for this capability, but it's something that we felt fundamentally would be beneficial to our users. And we launched it in November. We're seeing some early adoption numbers, and retention of the product is high, usage of the product is high, churn on the product is very low, and it's good for the ecosystem. So it's cross the entire ecosystem, working with Shweta's team, working with our fulfillment team, working with our transportation team. But everybody really pulled together, and this is something I'm really excited to scale across the region in the upcoming year.
Kudos, well done. Sounds like win-win-win. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Shweta, any recent product development that you're excited about?
I'm a big fan of the family account feature that Tom mentioned as well. A lot of interest from our consumers on this, and we see a lot of like positive testimonials for people who've already used it. So very excited to scale this out. I guess something I can talk about is on our Grab Unlimited product. So this is our loyalty subscription offering. So it's similar to Amazon Prime, where you pay a monthly subscription and then get the best value from Grab. So we've recently scaled this to all our markets, and we're constantly trying to improve the product and make it just add more benefits, as well as make it much more easier to sign up and renew and use the product. So one recent innovation that the team did was to introduce long-term plans on the basic Grab Unlimited subscription. So the idea is that especially in cash-heavy markets like in Southeast Asia, people don't often have that much balance in their wallets on a monthly basis, and they kind of just top it up just in time for when they need to make a transaction on either food or transport. So we were seeing a big issue with renewals for the subscription. As you can imagine, we would want to keep the renewals high so that we can actually continue offering good value for our users on a monthly basis for the subscription. So one of the ideas was, hey, can we, at least for our users who are already fans of Grab Unlimited and are paying us monthly, can we get them to pay us for, say, 3 months or 6 months, but then offer a discount on the subscription pricing, such that we can avoid this issues of renewals where, because of failed payment methods or some other issues, the renewals don't happen, and then users don't see the member pricing on the product anymore. So this was, it sounds simple, but it actually, as with many tech innovations, it took a bunch of cycles for us to get right. So this feature now allows users to purchase longer term plans, and then get discounts on both the subscription price, but also access a huge variety of benefits that the Grab Unlimited product enables within Grab. And this is now getting scaled out in multiple markets. We're really happy. It's one of those things where it's a kind of a small improvement to the experience, but it results in big ripple effects because of the volume of the consumer base in Grab.
That's outstanding, and also helps connect with the climbing up the LTV that you had spoken about earlier.
Yeah,
That's
that's right.
fantastic. Nicely done. Kudos. Okay, last three questions before we wrap up this conversation. And this one's an interesting one, which is about culture. Of course, all the leaders that we've spoken to have spun so much yarn about the incredible culture at Grab. How every day feels like first day, it's a full startup within a ginormous organization, the amount of autonomy, the amount of innovation, number of patents that are being filed left, right, and center. So, your favorite thing about the Grab culture for the product org that you work at, consumer experience, and then platform? Shweta first, and then Tom.
I think what I really appreciate is the proximity to our customers with that Grab affords. So that's one of the reasons I love working at Grab, because I can literally use the product myself every day, but also I have access to feedback from our users, both in the form of data, but also in the form of face-to-face conversations. In one of my earlier roles at Grab, I worked in the driver team and was responsible to launch the first version of the batching product for food delivery. And one of my most favorite moments at Grab is actually going down to Surabaya in Indonesia and then figuring out on the ground by literally sitting on the back of the driver in the scooter to try to figure out how the batching algorithm is working or not working for our drivers, and then relaying that feedback back to my engineering and design team based in Singapore to then figure out, like, okay, what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong. So that, like, feedback loop that we get because we're also in region building products for our users, that brings about a lot of ownership and a reason to stay for me, at least.
That's amazing. And I'm sure it doesn't hurt that you can go eat amazing nasi goreng at every
Oh, of
opportunity that you
course,
get,
yes.
right? I mean, that's just like perks of the job.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Tom. Your favorite thing about the culture?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think when people ask me how I survived 9 years, I think it generally does go back to the culture and working with good people, smart people, well-intentioned people. I think Shweta's points are exactly on. Like, we're very close to the consumers. We get to speak what we feel is the right path, and I think where it ultimately comes from is a culture of humility and desire to learn, right? Because I think everybody understands that all of our markets, even though it's Southeast Asia, is very unique and different, right? Like a product that works in Singapore won't work in Vietnam the same way or Indonesia the same way, right? And everybody wants to learn those nuances of what makes it different and why is it different, so that we can continue to improve the products time over time again. That doesn't mean like we want to build a product unique for every market. We're also looking to learn what are the similarities and what are the things that cut across so that we can standardize. And so it just comes back to our willingness to be humble enough to say what worked in the US might not work here, what worked in China may not work here. There's a good starting point, but let's use this as a jumping off point to learn and go deeper and really understand the nuances of the problems for our specific users.
Awesome. Love it. Hyper customization. Terrific. Last two questions. Okay, this is interesting. And whoever goes first, extra brownie points for them.
Now we're scared.
What? Not at all. Not at all. So, what kind of person should join your team? A brand new person, a brand new team member that you're hiring for your respective teams. What are the qualities? What are these amazing attributes, skills, attitudes that you are looking for that make for a successful new team member? That's the first question. I'll also park the second one with you all so that you all can prepare that also while the other one answers, which is you have to make an elevator pitch to this person, whoever you characterize and build a character sketch out of, for them to come join your teams. You're both competitors with regards to this. So make a nice, compelling elevator pitch for why they should come and work with you. So who would like to go first for the extra brownie points?
That's all you, Shweta. You can take it.
Wow, Tom. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In Grab, we call that Tai Chi.
Exactly. Good skill.
Well, so I think to be successful in Grab and especially in product, it's all about the communication. So product managers are communicators, and they basically they're successful because their teams are successful, and their teams are successful because they all know what to do, and they're all aligned on the vision, and they're executing towards the same goal. And PMs do are play a very important part in making that happen. Also because Grab's a fairly matrixed organization with multiple verticals, business lines, countries, it's very important to clearly and succinctly communicate and do that consistently. So that's like the kind of like must have. I mean, obviously, great PMs are great because they are excellent at problem solving, and they have a very structured and organized approach in doing that, so that it's repeatable and it's consistent. Um, so any candidate that wants to make a shift into product management or wants to make a shift into Grab in general should know how to facilitate good problem solving, uh, can communicate well, and can align, across multiple different types of stakeholders. I think the one other thing I'd add is that PMs need to get stuff done. That's like a key skill. It's not just a strategy role. It's actually an execution role as well. And moving from a vision to a reality is often really hard. We call that the valley of despair often at Grab, where you try stuff out, things don't work, but then you have to figure out why they don't work, learn, and then try again and again and again till you get it right. So I think the resilience involved in getting stuff done is really important to be successful in product management, and will set you apart at Grab.
Wow.
Wow, my
Amazing.
elevator pitch. That's a
No, no, no.
complicated
We'll
question.
come to you for that. We'll come
Okay,
to you
I
for
will
that.
prepare
Now,
while Tom
correct,
answers.
because now Tom answers the most desirable qualities already. I mean, Shweta's made such an amazing pitch for that. Pretty
I
much
know I should have
just
gone
do it.
first, right?
Like Nike says, just do it. Doers
Exactly.
over thinkers. But take it away, Tom. No pressure at all.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. She did a really good job answering the question. No, I like obviously all those things that Shweta called out, I think are absolutely critical. I think within my team, I really do try to anchor a lot on humility, right, and empathy. I think those are cultural things that I called out earlier, but are really critical for the team. I think empathy is super important from our platform teams. Which you may say, hey, it's further away from your end consumer. So why do you need to be as empathetic? And I think because it's further away from your end consumer, it's actually sometimes harder to connect with it, right? You can make a decision in a back-end service, and you're like, okay, it's just a decision we made. Maybe you don't care about latency. Maybe you don't care about a blocking state because you're like, okay, it's just an edge case. But if you don't connect it to the user who's at maybe a couple steps away from you, you're building a product that's not really good, right? And it goes as well into like, as a platform team, we're going to have requests from all of the other verticals, from all the other teams. They're under a lot of pressure to maybe get something out today, or unexpected dependency that came up, and we may have to adjust our roadmaps. And if you can't empathize with your fellow product managers coming to you for support, it's going to be a really difficult job, right? You can't just approach this as like, hey, here's our 2-year plan. We'll get to it in a year from now. It's not acceptable. So the depth of empathy across the different functions across the org is incredibly important, so that you can communicate and you can take that next step and do it. But at the end of the day, these are really complicated problems with lots of nuances, right? And so I want somebody who's excited to go deep into those specifics and really uncover not just like that first level problem, but I want to know the second and third level problem, and I want to know the metrics that lead up into that first level statement. Those are the people that I want to really get excited about the details.
That's amazing. Love it. Shweta, time for the elevator pitch. And nobody gets to say, hey, you get to work with me.
So there's a quote, right, that says, if you're offered a seat at the rocket ship, you don't ask what seat, you just get on. That's how I feel like it is to work at Grab. The Grab's in a really unique spot in terms of like uh, growing along with Southeast Asia. There's a ton of opportunity, and if you're looking to make an impact with your career and to learn something very meaningful and also contribute very positively to the society that you're based in, then Grab's the place for you. And I think product's the best place within Grab to enable you to do that, because we actually are, the team that kind of makes things happen. And we work very closely with multiple functions in the organization to both set the vision as well as execute on that vision. And the consumer experience team specifically, I think the big perk is that you get to feel the product that you're actually building, use it. Of course, you'll get a lot of feedback, but then you'll also get a lot of learnings along the way. And I think because of the scale of the platform that we operate, a lot of experimentation is possible, and with that comes a lot more learning and impact. So that's my pitch.
Well done, well done. Phenomenal, Tom.
Yeah, I think it goes back to stuff I've said along the way, right? I fundamentally believe Grab is an amazing place to learn and grow, right? When I started this job, it was a small little taxi hailing company. Wasn't that small, but relatively to where it is now. We've expanded our scopes into cars and bikes and food delivery and express and payments and subsidiaries and banking and all that sort of stuff. And so just not only in your own scope, but I think across, if you pay attention to other people's scopes, if you pay attention to what's going on in the org, the org's willingness to experiment with org structures, to find more optimal ways to keep things going so that we can continue to operate like a startup as we've become a larger company. These are things that I continue to learn and view and really appreciate consistently, right? My team specifically, I like being in back-end systems. I like being a little bit further away from the business. But the nice aspect is I also get to work with every business. So I don't have to choose a specific vertical to go deep into, because I kind of have to go deep into all of them. So it's a great way to get exposure across the entire domain and space and really solve really, really complex problems that are incredibly nuanced and incredibly challenging, but really push you to your limit. And would I say my team over Shweta's team or anybody else's team? I'd say no, right? Like when I'm ever interviewing people and they're looking at different roles, I tell them the positives and negatives of both sides, but ultimately I want smart people. I want good culture people in the organization. And it doesn't bother me what team there is, because I'm going to have to work with them eventually. And at the end of the day, like Grab really, really pushes internal mobility. Shweta and I have both worked for a variety of teams. It strengthens our depth of knowledge of the different spaces, the domains. It makes for better connections with other people in the org. It just makes everything easier. And again, it pushes us to continue to learn more. Right? Like when you kind of feel like you've maxed out in a domain, or you don't have the passion that maybe you did when you first started it a couple of years ago, you kind of shift and go to a different team that reignites it and makes it a lot easier to solve problems. So there's lots of great reasons to come work at Grab.
Wow, look at you two. The Oscar goes to both of you. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
That's amazing. But thank you, Shweta. Thank you, Tom. Truly appreciate both of you taking time from your busy schedules and making this chat possible.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was great to be here. It was fun. Thanks.
Thank you. And to all you viewers and listeners, don't forget to catch the other amazing episodes and podcasts from Grab a Seat, where we are speaking to incredible leaders across different functions at Grab. This is Ankit signing out from Bengaluru, and Tom and Shweta from Singapore. Have a great day.